Hello, thank you all so much for signing up to host a phone bank for Elizabeth. I am going to share my screen so you all can see as I go through the training. Oops. All right. Great, so I'm gonna walk you all through how to host a phone bank. And I'm gonna show you guys both how to register your event online and how to actually do the phone bank itself and how to train the people that are at your party. So just as a quick overview, we're hosting phone banks for Elizabeth's birthday over the next weekend, June 22nd and June 23rd. You are welcome to host on either day. Her birthday is on Saturday, June 22nd. Just a quick overview of what you should have. So our host resources, we've got a host toolkit. It's about 4 pages long, but inside that toolkit, there are many, many links to external documents that are public facing that will have everything that you need. So like a 1-pager on how to call, the link to the video that people should watch before they get started. So even though the toolkit is very short, but everything in that link, every link inside the toolkit is active. So make sure that you have a copy of that toolkit. You should get it when you sign up to host a phone bank. The event host group. So we've got a community online called All In for Warren. If you're not already a part of it, you should definitely join. It's community.elizabethwarren.com. And it's a place where Elizabeth Warren supporters can get together. There are different groups online that you can get on. There are issue groups. There are different constituency groups. There's different states and regional groups. There's also a group for event hosts, which is a very cool group because you can connect with other event hosts from across the country and talk about things they've tried that have gone well, things that they've tried that haven't gone well, and you can really bounce off each other and get some cool new ideas on. The feedback form, that's something that we'll be sending you guys after the phone bank. The feedback form is extremely important to us. We read through every single feedback form that is sent to us. It's important to us as we grow this campaign and as we start to scale very quickly that we are doing the best that we can to support all of our volunteers and our fantastic supporters who are taking the time out of their day to volunteer. So please, please, please fill out the feedback form and let us know what you would like for us to change or what we can do better and differently moving forward. A discount code, before I forget, there's a discount code for volunteers. It's just the word volunteer in all caps, and you enter it during the checkout phase. So you put everything in your basket online on our shop, and then when you're checking out, you use that code. You'll get 30% off bumper stickers, buttons, and the plain Warren t-shirts. So t-shirts that just say Warren across the front. Just as a heads up, we are union printed and union shipped. So it may take a little bit longer than what we are currently used to. It's not going to be 1 or 2 days. So just as a heads up, if you want things for events a week or 2 out, just to make sure that you're planning for that. All right, I want to talk a little bit about why we're hosting phone banks. So phone banks are an extremely important way that we get in touch with our supporters and other volunteers. We also, we want to start making a community of other supporters. So it's a really great way for you to connect with other Elizabeth Warren supporters near you. And it really helps us grow the base. So it's really, really important that we're getting this direct contact instead of just getting emails. When you get a human on the other line of the phone, it's a much more pleasant process for everyone. So I want to talk a little bit about how to register your phone bank. So you should get a link from us when you sign up for this. And if you don't, it's elizabethwarren.com/host. So again, elizabethwarren.com/host, H-O-S-T. It'll bring you to this site right here. I've got a screenshot of it here on the right. And this is where you input all the information for details regarding your phone bank. So you put the event title, you put the description, you want to put a little picture on, and the details of your exact location, and then you can make it public or private. So if it's public, that means that we will be pushing it out, we'll let people know about it, and we will be emailing, texting, and putting it up on our website, and I'll talk about that a little more in a second. If you make it private, that means we won't tell anyone about your party, only you will have that link to your party, and you can pass that along to the people that you want to invite. So if it's private, again, we won't tell anyone about your party, only you will be inviting people. If it's public, we'll help you invite people to your party. Setting your max capacity. So if you're concerned with the number of people you can fit in your space, make sure to put a max capacity. That means that beyond that number of people, more people cannot register for your event. Any extra details and logistics, I would also ask that you include here in the description any accessibility needs. So for instance, if you have a pet, if you have stairs and no way to get into your space without going upstairs, if there are narrow spaces, things like that, please make sure to include that, as well as if you live in a complex or an apartment building or something like that where you need a name or you need something to get in, just make sure that you include all those details just so when people arrive, there's no difficulties. And then finally, when you're done including all that information, you're going to press submit, and it will take us up to 24 hours to approve it because we make sure we read through all of these and approve them just to make sure that everything's on track. And you'll get an email from us once it's approved. Once it is approved, the email that you get from us will look like this. So make sure that you keep an eye out for it. Sometimes it might go to your spam account. So make sure after you submit your event to just check all of your inboxes for the next 24 to 48 hours. It'll say your event is live as a subject, and the body will look something like this. So this link up here, the Debate Watch Party link right there, that's a link that you will be able to send out to people. So that's the live link, which means that it's the one where people can RSVP. This link at the bottom, the Warren for President dashboard, that is a site just for you. So that's where you can keep track of who is signing up, who is going, how many people you have, and you'll have their contact information, phone, email address, so you can get a hold of them beforehand if you need to. And this is what the public-facing link will look like for your event. So say if this is your event, the title will be here. This is the type of event it is, so it's a phone bank, so you'll see that here. Your little picture, this is a very cute one. And then the details will be here as well as the address. So here you can see that it says this event's address is private. So that is if you made a private event, that address won't be up there like that. When people are signing up, they write out all their information, sign up for a time, and then click sign up. So just to show you all what it will look like for you, when you click that dashboard link that comes in your email, so that's the second link in your email, this is what you'll see on your end so you can keep track of everything. So this is the dashboard. Right here is where you'll find the public link. So make sure you're not sending people your dashboard because they won't see it. Make sure you're sending them this, which is the public facing link. This is the owner, so that's in this case me. And then whether it's been approved yet or not, and the description. So this is the link you share. If you want to make any changes, you're going to click this edit button right here. So with a lot of these, you won't be able to change the description afterwards. So if that happens, you'll have to contact us to change it. This is just to make sure that we have approved everything so people don't go back in and completely change the language or completely change what they're doing. So if you need to change the description, just let us know. But this is, you can use this to change other things. If you scroll down on that same site, so on this site, just scroll down a little more, you'll get to the shifts and signups. So this is a really handy tool up here. If you click this button, export signups, what it does is it automatically sends you a CSV file. So that's basically like an Excel file to your email address from that same email address before. So you may have to check your spam, and it will give you a that file of everyone who has signed up so far and their contact information. So if you need to get in contact with someone, or for example, if you want to print it all out so you have a sign-in sheet for people and you can just check to make sure who's there, this is really handy. Just one thing to note is that when you send this to yourself, that CSV, that link will expire in 24 hours. That's just so we make sure that you have the most updated version of it. So if it has expired after you sent it to yourself, just go back to the site, click export signups again, it'll resend you a link that's the most recent. If you, there's another way that you can also see just on the website, so without sending yourself a file, who has signed up, and that is to click the time right here. So this should be, this is a link. If you click that, it will show you more information. I'm just gonna show you what happens when you click this. It'll pull up shift details. So right now, there aren't any people signed up for my event particularly, but if there were, their information would be right here. I would be able to see how many people have signed up and what their email and phone numbers are. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about how to promote your phone bank. So there's 3 different ways that we're going to be telling people about your phone bank. The first is email. So we will be sending an email if your event is public. So again, if you make it private, we will not tell people about your event. But if you make it public, we'll send everyone within 25 miles of your event an email letting them know about it. So we want to make sure that we're pulling people from your community locally. And so we'll send them an email telling them about your party and how they can sign up. Another way is that we'll put it on our website at events.elizabethwarren.com. So once that's up on the website, if people go on that site and they search their address or their zip code and it's near you, your event will be the top one to pop up. So it'll be searchable on our website for anyone in your area. And the final one is that we'll be texting. So the people who are on our texting team will be texting out information about these, and we'll let people in your area also know about your party. Another thing to note is you want to make sure that you're not just relying on us to build. Make sure that you're connecting with people that are already in your network. So this may sound silly, but I think the first thing that you should do is to sit down and just make a list of everyone that you want to invite. And once you make that list, actually go through and invite every single person on that list. So whether it's via phone or email or shooting them a text, make sure that you are reaching everyone that you want to reach and invite to your phone bank. Another thing is, again, this might sound small and silly, but making sure that you're inviting your friends. So it can be, it can be scary if you're hosting this, especially for the first time. So you want to make sure you have your support there to make sure that they're there helping you, make sure it's a pleasant experience for you. Then finally, you can promote it in community boards. So you can promote it online, any listservs you might be in. If you're in you can ask the local Democratic Party to send it out in their email newsletters. You can print out flyers, put it up in your community. Really, it's different from place to place. So think about how you find out about information in your community and follow that lead. I'm going to talk a little bit now about our phone bank agenda. So I highly recommend printing out this agenda. So again, this is linked inside the toolkit. I highly recommend printing out this agenda and having it on you for the duration of the phone bank, just in case things get hectic, you have it somewhere right in front of you. And just a little quick run through. So guests will arrive. You'll take about 10 minutes to check them all in, sign them all in. You'll do introductions for 10 minutes, and then you're going to train volunteers for 10 minutes, start them on calls. You'll have them on calls for about an hour and a half, and then you'll wrap up. So first thing I want to talk about is sign-in. Sign-in is really, really, really important to us. We know that the movement is growing and growing, and we want to make sure that we're capturing the real numbers here. How many people are coming out to these events? How many people are going to all of these volunteer-run events across the country and making calls for Elizabeth, watching the debate party, going to events, going to organizing meetings? This really helps us tell people how big we're growing and how quickly. So we have 2 methods for signing in. The first one I really, really, really prefer, and you'll see why in a second. So I highly recommend you guys doing the first sign-in option if possible. So the first sign-in option is to text the word party to 24477. I would recommend printing that out, so printing out the text party to 24477 and putting them kind of in your entryway so people can see them. When they text that in, they will get a prompt back from us asking for their first and last name and zip code. We should have them then respond with their first and last name and zip code. And then once they've sent that, they will receive back a photo of Bailey, Elizabeth's dog. Once you've seen that photo of Bailey, that means they are all signed in and ready to go. So a lot of times people will start this process and they won't finish. So you want to make sure that you are with people and making sure that they are actually finishing, following through, and getting all the way to that step of seeing that picture of Bailey before they are entering and all signed in. So there are 2 best practices of how to sign people in. The first is to have a volunteer, so maybe the first person who arrives or someone who's helping you out. I would not recommend you doing this just because you'll be running around greeting people and you don't want to put too much on your plate. So have someone stand at the door and just walk people through this and let people go in once they have seen the picture of Bailey, her dog. So that's what we do at our events. We do all the sign-in before people have entered. The other way you can do this is have everyone enter, and then once everyone's seated and kind of, you know, settled, then have everyone pull out their phones and do the text sign-in option. So that's 2 ways that you can make sure you're capturing everyone. So we're definitely going to have people who arrive who don't have a cell phone or can't text, or don't feel comfortable texting. That's totally fine. We do have a backup option. I will say, if it's possible, you really want to push that first option because the data is much cleaner. It gets to us immediately, and it's just a lot easier for us to follow through with people. But if you need, the backup option is pen and paper. So again, this sheet right here is linked in the toolkit that we sent. Print this out, print out more than you think you need, and just have people sign in by hand when they come in. Afterwards, you can enter those sign-ins on Mobilize America. The reason why we like the text sign-in better is because there's always that, you know, when you're going back and reading through people's information, you can't figure, their name looks like scribble, scribble, scribble. Their cell phones, the 7s look like 1s and the 2s look like 5s, and it's kind of hard to tell what exactly they wrote afterwards. So it's much, much better to do the phone sign-in just from a data perspective. But if people can't do that, it is totally okay if they do a paper sign-in. So this is our backup option. I want to take a pause for a second and talk about the art of the hard ask. So when you're asking people to sign in, when you're asking people to do things, not both at this phone bank party and also in the future as you continue to organize, you're going to have to ask people to do things for you. And I think that it is important that we are careful about how we phrase what we're asking. So instead of saying, can you please sign in, you want to say, hi, welcome, thank you so much for coming. Text 2447 or text party to 24477. So there's still a way to make it very friendly and make it very warm, but also being very direct about what you want them to do. So instead of asking them, maybe will you please kind of sort of do this, you want to make sure that you're very clear about what you want them to do. Another thing that is very important for me particularly is providing context. I think that it's important that people know the why behind what they're doing, from whether that's signing in to making calls. You want to make sure that people know how important this is to the campaign, how important it is to growing this movement, and how incredibly urgent it is, because this is, you know, a lot is on the line here when we think about the big picture of why we want Elizabeth to win both the primary and the presidency. So make sure that you tie this in with the entire broader context. And finally, in the words of he who will not be named, we want to persist. So make sure that you follow Elizabeth's lead, and if people are giving you kind of like a meh, maybe, make sure you are persisting. All right, and here are the materials that each person, so not just you, but each person who is making phone calls will need. First, they will all need an internet-connected computer or tablet. So I think that you should make this extremely clear, especially when you're doing your confirmation emails or phone calls with people who are arriving. Make sure everyone knows that they need to bring a computer or a tablet. We do not have paper sheets for this phone bank. And once I show you guys the interface of the phone bank, it'll make a lot more sense why. But again, everyone needs to have an internet-connected computer or tablet. That being said, you need to make sure that the spot where you're holding your phone bank has access to Wi-Fi and strong Wi-Fi. Next, everyone's going to need either a cell phone or a landline to make calls from. So I mentioned earlier during the text sign-in, some people may not be able to text. That's fine. As long as they can make calls from their cell phone, totally okay. Headphones, this is optional, but I do think it's helpful for everyone or most people to have just at least earbuds with a little microphone on it. It just makes it easier to have multiple people in a space on phone calls at the same time when you've got the little headpiece in. And it also can get kind of tiring to hold the phone to your ear for 90 minutes. And then finally, we have a one-pager here called How to Make Calls for Elizabeth. There's a link to that in your toolkit. I highly recommend printing that out for each person who's going to be there, just so they have it in front of them, because there are FAQs there. There are steps just in case they get logged off for some reason. And it'll just have everything they need right in front of them at all times. So just to talk a little bit about the agenda of the house party. So you're going to want to have them all come in. You want to sign them in. Then afterwards, before you get started with the phone bank, it's really important that you do introductions. So like I mentioned earlier, this is really also a community building exercise. And you want to make sure that we're starting to build out this team of people who are in your community, who are Elizabeth Warren supporters, who are all in, who are so ready for this fight. Make sure that you were building these relationships early so we can lean on each other once once all of our organizing and our volunteer opportunities get really intense, and they're coming very frequently. So when you're doing introductions, have people introduce themselves, say where they're from, and then why they support Elizabeth. I think Elizabeth believes that everyone comes to the table because of one or two specific issues that drive them. And it's always interesting to hear why everyone's getting involved in the fight, because frequently many people from many different walks of life will have different reasons as to why they're here and why they're so passionate and taking the time to do this. So it's a really good way to get to know people and hear what people are passionate about, and then also connect with people who may care about the same things that you do. So next, I want to run through the Hub Dialer system with you all. So there is a video that is linked in your toolkit. I highly recommend you watch it before the phone bank, just so you know what to do before you're teaching other people. But I do want to just show you guys a few steps. And again, I would watch the video just to get a better idea of it, but I just want to show you guys a little bit of what it looks like. So this is what the site looks like when you type in elizabethwarren.com/phones. It'll bring up the Hub Dialer. What you're going to do is click sign in. So this orange button at the very top right, you're going to click sign in. Oops. And then once you click that, it'll have the option to sign in as a volunteer. You want to make sure you sign in as a volunteer. Here is the video. I'm not going to play the whole thing for you guys right here just because you'll have the link for it, but I highly recommend you watch it. Once you've signed in as a volunteer, as you can see right here, it'll bring you to this site. So you're going to put in your email, your name. We will give you the campaign ID and passcode. And then if this is your first time, make sure that you click this is your first time. Otherwise, it's going to search for your credentials. Then you're going to log in. And then when you click log in, it'll bring you to a site that has the full script on it. So this is just scroll down to the very bottom. Read through the script. And then once you've read through it all, you want to go to the very bottom and click Let's Get Started. So once you've read through the script and you click Let's Get Started, you're going to get to this dial-in site. So what you're going to have people do is pull out their phones and call the number that they give you. The number will then ask them for a dial-in code. They're going to put in a dial-in code. So they call the number and then the dial-in code afterwards. Once they've reached that, they should be on the phone and they should hear from the phone number a confirmation code. So Hub Dialer will, over the phone, give a confirmation code. So in this example, Hub Dialer said, your confirmation call is 970. So then the person types in 970 and clicks start calls. This is going to be different for everyone, so it'll be unique to your phone. One thing to note, and the Hub Dialer video will also mention this, is do not hang up the phone between phone calls. Only hang up after you are completely finished with the entire phone bank. So between calls, you're going to stay on the line with this. So once you click Start Calls, it'll bring you to the Hub Dialer. This Hub Dialer here will run through the numbers that we are calling. So what it does is it rings the numbers on our list, and once someone picks up, and says hello, then it immediately throws you into the conversation. So what that means is it rings. Once it says hello, it connects you. And so that person has already said hello. You want to, if you've been connected, immediately jump into what you're going to say. Because if you then say hello, they're going to be confused because you called them. So imagine if someone calls you, they pick up and they say hello, and then you say hello, and you just go back and forth. It sounds like a robocall. So again, you're only connected after they say hello, so you want to jump immediately into this. So as soon as you're connected, the script will pop up. Again, you've already read the script because you had to read it to press get started. Script will pop up, you jump straight into it. Hi, this is Mary Lou. I'm calling from the Blue for President campaign. May I please speak to Rose Hartman? And once you get that person, you ask how they're doing. You want it to be a conversation. And then you will ask them the question. So this isn't the question that we'll be asking, but this is just an example script. When you ask them the question, make sure that you record their answer. So if they said, I'm going to vote for candidate green, make sure that you are clicking candidate green, because that's how we get the data back from all these phone banks. Once you are finished, you click next call. So you don't hang up, you click next call right here. If, for example, they're not home, the wrong number, if they refuse to talk to you, if they say don't ever call me again, you click one of these and again press next call. So when you are finished with this conversation, instead of hanging up the phone, what you're going to do is wait for them to hang up the phone. And once they've hung up the phone, you click next call. I know I've said this 1,000 times, but do not, between phone calls, hang up your phone. You stay on the line and the hub dialer will continue to connect you to the next person. If you are finished with all of your calls, so you've made, your calls for an hour, you've talked to a lot of people, you've had a very lovely conversations about how much everyone loves Elizabeth, then you click "This is my last call" at the very bottom. So once you are finished with everything, or say if you need to take a bathroom break or something, "This is my last call," and that will exit you out. And then after you click "This is my last call," then you want to hang up your phone. If people mention something and there's no option to record that here, you can put it into notes, and then we'll see that on our end as we're going through this afterwards. Just some quick tips, and again, this is all written on that one pager that you should print out and definitely make sure everyone has a copy. Smile while you dial. So you can definitely hear people's attitudes over the phone. So make sure that you sound happy, you are ready to talk to people. People always adopt the tone of the person who is calling. So make sure that you're going in smiling. It sounds silly, but it really, really helps with the tone. Use the script. So make sure that you're following the script that we've written. It will guide you through what questions to ask and how to respond with every single possible answer that they give you. So we've thought through every single thing that they may possibly say to you, and make sure that you use that script to follow it. Track every single thing. So if we have these full conversations, but we don't track what people are saying, we walk out of this with no data, right? We need to make sure that this information is recorded so we can follow up. And, if people are like, "Oh, I want to do this," we want to make sure that we have a way to follow up with them if they say, "Sign up to host a debate watch party for July," or, whatever that next step is. So make sure, please, 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 that you're having all of your attendees track everything that they talk about. Just some FAQs that I want to quickly address. Again, this is in the one pager, so you can read about it there too. If the voter asks you a question you don't know the answer to, say they ask you something very specific about policy that you don't know, I think it's best if you just admit that you don't know. I do that frequently. People ask me very, very specific questions. It's better to be honest about what you do and don't know than to make something up, because you are the face of this campaign right now when you're making these calls, and you want to make sure that everything you say is 100% correct. So if you don't know, you can get their information and you can send it to us. You can you can write it in the notes. You can get back to them. There are many things that you can do if you do not know the answer, but I would say definitely make sure that you are honest with them. And if you put it in the notes section, we will follow up with them. If it's a very specific policy issue, you can send them to elizabethwarren.com/issues, or you can send them to our Medium page at Team Warren. How do you end your call session? So remember, between sessions, you don't hang up. But stay on the line. And when you're done with everything, you're going to click that button that says, "This is my last call." The person that you're calling cannot see your number. So that's part of the reason why we use Hub Dialer is it connects to a campaign number, and then all the calls that they will get will be from our campaign number. So they won't be getting a direct call from your number. You won't get any follow-ups from other people who didn't pick up the phone or whatever. It will all be through our number. Sometimes it takes a little long to get to your next call because Hub Dialer is calling through a few numbers. So if there's a bit of a lag between two calls, that means Hub Dialer is calling a few people and they're not picking up. So it's just going through, and it will only connect you to people who pick up and say hello. If it's not letting you make calls, that means that you're outside of the legal campaign requirements. So campaign laws only let us make calls between 9 to 9 local time. So it's possible that you're trying to make calls from outside of that. If for some reason you are not getting connected, it's not letting you make calls, and you're within that time frame, make sure that you email callcrew, CALLCREW @elizabethwarren.com for some help to make sure that everything works out. Again, that email address is in that one pager as well. And how do I engage with argumentative call recipients? So if people are argumentative with you, stay positive, stay calm. Not everyone is going to be extremely friendly. We acknowledge that. But remember that you are the face of this campaign, so please do not engage in an argument. I would say that you want to end it as quickly as possible in a positive note. So, for example, just saying, thank you so much for taking my call. We appreciate the feedback. Have a great day. And then just disengaging. So please make sure that you are not arguing back with argumentative call recipients. Just make sure you're backing away from the situation as quickly and positively as you possibly can. So afterwards, you want to lead a discussion with the folks who are there, talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and have everyone share their favorite person that they talked to. A lot of times people will share their personal stories or talk a lot about why they support Elizabeth Warren, and that's a really interesting conversation to have to make sure that everyone else is hearing about that. You want to make sure that everyone leaves with this copy called Next Steps. So that's a one-pager on what they can do next to get involved. Oftentimes at group meetings like this too, people will start talking about the next thing that they want to do all together. So whether that's an organizing meeting or hosting another bank or a text bank. So if you guys do decide on that, make sure that you have that set in stone, or you guys have someone who's in charge of making sure that happens, and then following up with people or getting people to sign up to take charge of specific things. Make sure that everyone signs up to volunteer using our volunteer sign-in sheet. So that's the paper backup sheet is also our volunteer sign-up. So if people want to volunteer to do specific things, make sure you get their information there as well. And then finally, next steps. So like I mentioned before, you want to submit your host feedback form. Again, really important to us, reread all of these. Submit your sign-in sheets. So if people didn't sign in via text, they've signed in via paper, you want to go through to Mobilize America, which is where you made your events. So that's the events.elizabethwarren.com dashboard. Make sure you have confirmed everyone who's come. Call the people who missed the event. You don't have to be aggressive about it, but just say, we missed you. Bummer that you couldn't come. And then let them know what's going on next, or let them know that you'll keep them tuned for whatever's coming next. And then finally, send a follow-up email to everyone who came. So shoot them an email saying, thanks so much for coming. You can send them a group photo that you guys took. And then just some next steps if you guys have decided on what you guys are doing next. And that is all. If you have any questions, please send them via email to callcrew, CALLCREW @elizabethwarren.com. And again, that email address is in the toolkit that we sent y'all. Thank you so much for signing up to do this. It's going to be a great birthday, and she's going to be very excited about it. So thank you all very much.